Before we say a single word about blood sugar, I want you to do something simple. Sit back and think about the very first thing you ate this morning. Not what you think you should have eaten, what you actually put in your mouth. Hold that picture in your mind, because in about 60 seconds, that one small memory is going to tell you more about what's happening inside your bloodstream than any number a doctor has ever read off a chart to you. Now, while you're holding that picture, I want you to do a quiet little test with me. 5 questions. Nothing to write down unless you want to, though I'll ask you to in a moment. Just be honest, because the only person you'd be fooling is yourself, and your body already knows the truth. Question 1. Sometime around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, do you feel a kind of heaviness settle over you? A drop. A wave of tiredness that arrives almost on schedule, like clockwork, even on the days you slept fine. If that sounds familiar, give yourself 1 point. Question 2. Have you noticed you're thirsty more often than you used to be? Not the kind of thirst a glass of water fixes for good, but a dryness that keeps coming back, a mouth that never quite feels satisfied? 1 point. Question 3. When you get a small cut or a scrape, maybe on your hand or your shin, does it take longer to heal than it once did? Days longer, sometimes weeks. 1 point. Question 4. Right now, look at your hands. Press one thumbnail and watch the color return. And while you're there, notice your fingertips and your toes. Is there a faint tingling? A buzz you've learned to ignore? A numbness that comes and goes? That sensation is not nothing. Give yourself 1 point. Question 5. Do you wake at the same hour every night, often somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, eyes open for no reason you can name, and then drift back to sleep? 1 point. Now, add them up. Be honest. That number, somewhere between 0 and 5, is your glucose drift score. And here is what it means, so listen closely. If you scored a 0 or a 1, your body is humming along well, and the habits I'm about to teach you will keep it that way for years. If you scored a 2 or a 3, your body has been sending you signals, polite ones, quiet ones, and they deserve your attention now, while everything is still easy to change. And if you scored a 4 or a 5, I don't want you to feel fear. I want you to feel something better. I want you to feel found. Because a high score is not a sentence. It is the earliest possible warning, the kind most people never get, and it means you are standing at a starting line that millions of people would give anything to reach before it's too late. Do me one favor before we go further. Write your number in the comments, just the number. Because something happens when you say a thing out loud. When you commit to it, where another person can see. You stop hiding from it, and the people scrolling past who see your number will feel a little braver about facing their own. That's the deal. Your honesty becomes someone else's permission. Now, here is what I'm going to show you. There is a phenomenon that almost no one over 60 has ever been warned about, and it has a name. I call it glucose drift. It is the slow, silent, year-by-year creep of your blood sugar upward, so gradual that no single doctor's visit ever catches it as alarming. It hides behind one of the most dangerous sentences a person your age can hear, and you have almost certainly heard it. Your doctor glances at your chart and says, "Your sugar's a little high, but that's normal for your age." Stop. That sentence is comforting, and it is wrong. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why, what's actually happening inside you, and 4 daily habits that flatten the drift, plus 4 things you can change tonight at your own kitchen table. Pause. Let me give you 60 seconds of science first, because every single thing after this depends on you understanding it. When you eat, especially anything made of bread, rice, potatoes, sugar, or cereal, your body breaks it down into glucose, a simple sugar, and that glucose pours into your bloodstream. Your blood is not meant to hold much of it at once. So your pancreas, that small, quiet organ tucked behind your stomach, releases a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a key. Every cell in your body has a lock on its door, and insulin is the key that opens that lock so the glucose can leave your blood and go inside the cell, where it becomes energy. That is the whole beautiful system. Food comes in, the key turns, the sugar goes home, your blood stays clean. When you were 30, this happened so smoothly, you never felt it. A meal, a small rise, a quick correction, and back to baseline within an hour. Your body was a perfectly tuned instrument, and you didn't have to think about it once. But here is what happens as the decades pass. The locks on your cells start to get stiff. They stop responding to the key the way they used to. Doctors call this insulin resistance. The insulin is there, knocking, turning, but the door won't open as easily. So the glucose lingers in your blood longer than it should. And your pancreas, sensing all that leftover sugar, panics a little and makes even more insulin, more keys, hammering at stiff locks. For a while this works. The pancreas compensates. Your numbers look almost normal. That is the drift, hiding in plain sight. But the pancreas is not an infinite well. Year after year of overwork quietly exhausts it. The keys start to run out. And the number that was a little high becomes a little higher, and then a little higher still, until one day it isn't called drift anymore. It's called diabetes. The plateau you thought you were standing on was a slope the whole time. And the cruelest part is the speed. It is slow enough that no single year feels different from the last. You feel like the same person you were a decade ago, give or take a little tiredness you blame on age. But age was never the cause. The drift was. And the dismissive sentence that let it hide cost you the one thing you needed most, which was the chance to act early, while the locks were only a little stiff and the locksmith still had plenty of keys to spare. So now you understand the enemy. It isn't sugar exactly. It's stiff locks and an exhausted locksmith. And everything I'm about to teach you does one of two things. It either asks your cells for less insulin, or it helps the keys you have work better. That's it. Keep that in your mind as we count down 4 habits, starting at number 4, and working toward the most powerful one of all. Habit number 4, the after-meal movement. Here is the setup. Most people, after they finish eating, sit down. They move to the couch, to the chair, to the television, and they let the meal settle. That is precisely the worst thing you can do, and it's so easy to fix. The action is this. Within 30 minutes of finishing any main meal, you move your body for 10 minutes. Not a workout. A walk around the block, pacing your hallway, marching gently in front of the sink while the dishes soak. The mechanism is gorgeous in its simplicity. When you contract your muscles, they pull glucose out of your blood for fuel without needing much insulin at all. Your muscles open a side door that doesn't require the key. So instead of that sugar flooding your blood and pounding on stiff locks, it gets burned by your moving legs. The sensory feedback you'll notice is that 3 o'clock crash softening within a few days. That heaviness after lunch lifting. The common mistake is waiting too long, letting an hour pass, by which point the spike has already happened. And if your mobility is limited, the modification is simple. Seated leg raises, ankle pumps, standing and sitting from a chair 10 times. The muscle is what matters, not the distance. Even from a chair, a contracting muscle opens that side door. I have watched patients in their 80s, people who thought their exercising days were behind them, change their afternoon numbers with nothing more than ankle pumps during a commercial break. The body does not care how impressive the movement looks. It only cares that the muscle worked. And before we go to habit 3, here is the research that should make you sit up. Studies have shown that a 10-minute walk taken shortly after a meal can lower the resulting glucose spike by up to 22%. 22% from 10 minutes. There is no medication on earth that asks so little and gives so much. Habit number 3. The water first ritual. The setup is your morning, the moment you wake. Most people reach first for coffee. The action is to drink a full glass of water before anything else passes your lips, and especially before that first cup of coffee. The mechanism here is twofold. Overnight, you dehydrate, and concentrated blood holds a higher concentration of glucose simply because there's less fluid to dilute it. Rehydrating dilutes your morning sugar back toward where it belongs, and water before food gently slows how fast your stomach empties, which softens the spike from whatever you eat next. The sensory feedback is a clearer head in the first hour, and less of that nagging all-day thirst by the afternoon. The common mistake is thinking coffee counts as water. It doesn't. Caffeine is mildly dehydrating and can nudge your morning numbers the wrong way. The modification, if you take morning medication with food, is to simply build the glass of water into that same routine before the meal, before the coffee. Make it the first thing your hand reaches for, sitting by your bedside or your sink, so the habit decides itself before your mind is even awake. Habit number 2. The sleep anchor. This one surprises people because they never connect their pillow to their pancreas. The setup is your nighttime, and the action is to protect a consistent sleep window, going to bed and waking within the same hour each day, aiming for 7 hours of genuine rest. The mechanism is this. When you lose sleep, your body floods with stress hormones, cortisol chief among them, and cortisol stiffens those cellular locks even further. It directly worsens insulin resistance. Your tired body becomes a deaf body, ignoring insulin's knock. The sensory feedback over a week of better sleep is steadier energy and fewer of those mysterious 2 a.m. wakings, which, remember, were one of the signals on our test. The common mistake is eating late, because a heavy meal close to bedtime keeps your blood sugar elevated through the night. The modification, if pain or a restless mind wakes you, is to keep the wake time fixed even on bad nights, because the anchor is what retrains your body. And here is your second research bombshell, and please read it twice. Just a single night of poor sleep has been shown to raise insulin resistance by roughly 25% in otherwise healthy people. One bad night, 25%. Your bedroom is a blood sugar clinic, and you never knew it. Habit number 1, the most powerful of all, the fiber-first plate. The setup is every meal you eat for the rest of your life. The action is an order of operations. Before the first bite of bread or rice or potato, you eat your vegetables and your protein first. Greens first, protein second, starch last. The mechanism is one of the most elegant things in all of human physiology. When fiber from vegetables reaches your gut before the starch does, it forms a kind of mesh that the sugar has to filter through slowly. The protein triggers hormones that tell your stomach to take its time. So the same exact plate of food, eaten in a different order, releases its glucose as a gentle, rolling hill instead of a violent spike. Same food, same calories, different sequence, different bloodstream. The sensory feedback is feeling full longer, fewer cravings an hour later, and a calmer afternoon. The common mistake is the bite of bread first, the chip while you wait, the roll before the salad arrives. The modification, for anyone with a small appetite, is simply to eat whatever vegetables and protein you can manage first, even a few bites, before reaching for the starch. A single forkful of greens before the rice still builds part of that mesh. You do not have to eat a mountain of salad. You only have to change the order, and the order costs you nothing. Now let me give you 4 clinical insights you can act on tonight. Small things that land like revelations. First, the breakfast that spikes your blood sugar harder than dessert. It's the bowl of cereal, even the ones dressed up as healthy. Even oatmeal drowned in sweetened toppings, eaten alone on an empty stomach. A bowl of cereal with milk can raise your morning glucose more sharply than a slice of cake, because there's nothing to slow it down, and your morning body is at its most insulin resistant. The fix is the protein-first reorder. Eat 2 eggs, or a scoop of plain yogurt, or a handful of nuts before the carbohydrate ever arrives. Protein first changes everything. Second, the order of your food, which I've touched on but which deserves its own moment, because this single insight has been measured in clinics. Patients eating the identical meal, the only difference being sequence, showed dramatically lower glucose spikes when they ate vegetables and protein before carbohydrates. You do not have to give up the bread. You have to move it to the end of the line. Third, the everyday drink quietly driving your afternoon resistance. It's the sweetened beverage you don't even register as sweet. The fruit juice you think is healthy. The flavored coffee. The afternoon soda. Liquid sugar hits your bloodstream faster than anything you chew because there's no fiber, no chewing, no delay. It is a spike with no brakes. Replace it with water, sparkling water, or unsweetened tea, and watch your 3 o'clock crash disappear. Fourth, the nighttime habit sabotaging your morning before you even wake. It's the late-night snack, the bowl of something sweet in front of the television. Here's why it matters so much. In the pre-dawn hours, your body naturally releases hormones to wake you, and those hormones raise blood sugar on their own. Doctors call it the dawn phenomenon. If you've gone to bed with elevated sugar from a late snack, you stack that on top of the dawn rise, and you wake already high, already behind. Close the kitchen 3 hours before bed, and you let your body start the morning clean. And now, the simplest rule of all, the one I want you to carry out of here and keep forever. I call it the glucose reset rule. 3 minutes of movement within 30 minutes of every main meal. Not 10. 3. Because 3 minutes is a rule you'll actually keep, and a kept rule beats a perfect plan you abandon by Thursday. 3 minutes of walking, of marching, of climbing your stairs once, of standing and stretching. Do it after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. This is not a diet. Diets end. This is an operating system, a permanent way your body now runs. 3 minutes, 3 times a day, every day, for the rest of your life. So let's come back to where we began. The number you wrote down. Look at it again. That number is not a diagnosis. It was never a diagnosis. It is a starting line, and you are standing on it right now with everything you need to move forward. So here is my challenge to you. For the next 14 days, do these things. Water before coffee, vegetables and protein before starch, 3 minutes of movement after every meal, kitchen closed 3 hours before bed, 14 days. Then come back, retake this little test, count your points again, and tell me your new number in the comments. I think it's going to surprise you. And one last thing, and this is the only share I'll ask of you, because it's specific and it matters. Think of one person in your life who has been told their sugar is just a little high but normal for your age. One person who heard that sentence and felt relieved when they should have felt curious. Send this to them, not to a list. To that one person, by name, with a word that says you thought of them. Because what you now understand could change the slope of their entire decade. Your body has carried you for 60 years and more. Every beat, every breath, every healed cut, and every recovered morning, it has been working for you without thanks and without rest. And here is the most hopeful truth I know. It is still listening. It is still responding. The bloodstream that drifted upward can be coaxed gently back down, not with fear, not with deprivation, but with order, with water, with movement, with rest, with the quiet daily kindness of doing the next small thing. Your body is not your opponent. It never was. It is your oldest and most loyal partner, and it is still, even now, waiting for you to lead. So lead it, starting tonight, starting right now, with the very next thing you eat.